Ava Muhammad is his message. And on behalf of all the ministers of Louis Farrakhan, I'd like to say thank you all so very much for coming out this morning. As you heard, I'm not the keynote speaker today, but we have one that have come from our headquarters. Directly from Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
And she is one of the best at Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Now, I said without a doubt, that's what Honorable Louis Farrakhan said. I'm saying I want us to give her a welcome that she's never had nowhere else. Because there ain't nothing like the South. So we want to give her a welcome. I'm talking about Sister Dr. Student Minister Ava Muhammad. Let's welcome her to Atlanta with the greatest applause that we ever had anywhere. Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad.
In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, we thank Allah, God, the supreme being, the Lord of the worlds, for his love and his mercy upon humanity, always giving us guidance. Whenever we go astray from the straight path of obedience to his will, he always raises up from among our own a guide, a warner, a reminder of his will, that we may receive his blessings and mercy and escape the tragedy of his judgment. In this 6,000-year cycle, as we read in the Holy Quran and in the Bible, there have been many prophets and messengers sent.
Amen.
The Holy Quran tells us that we do not know the names of most of the prophets and messengers, but there are names of those who had such a profound impact in this 6,000-year history, the most recent, that their names are mentioned both in the Bible and in the Holy Quran. And we thank Allah over and over again for them. We thank him for Moses with the Torah, Jesus Christ and the gospel, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who received the Holy Quran.
That's right.
As Muslims, I want to dispel the myth
Go ahead.
that we do not believe in Jesus. It is in the Holy Quran that honor and respect is given, not only to Jesus, not only to the mother of Jesus, but to the grandmother of Jesus.
Go ahead.
In the 3rd chapter in Arabic surah of the Holy Quran called the family of Imran, a woman is pregnant with a child. She is a righteous, obedient woman who vows to Allah that the life she carries will be for his service. And in the Holy Quran, Allah declares, when the child came forth, it was a female. And it seems as though the woman may have been a little disappointed, because in those days, in the days of the birth of Jesus, only men were allowed into the priesthood. But Allah said, I know what you know not. And it came to pass that the female that woman was carrying was married. Contrary to what is said out in the world about Islam. We believe that Jesus was able to raise the dead to life by Allah's permission. So if this is your first time with us, and we are so happy you are here, when you leave here today, let your family and friends know that this is a falsehood that has been spread about Islam, that we do not love and respect and see Jesus as an exalted servant of Allah. We thank him over and over again. But I, as a black woman, beloved, here in North America, in the land where my forefathers and mothers were captured and brought here and held in bondage,
Yes, ma'am.
and received the worst treatment in the annals of history.
That's right.
I am so thankful. I am eternally grateful
Yes, ma'am.
to Master Ava Muhammad,
Yes, ma'am.
a man who came here alone from the holy city of Mecca. All praises be to Allah. He came here to North America while we suffered mightily. He came alone, and he was in and out of this country for 20 years. In 1930, he made himself known. And he came into the city of Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, ma'am.
And their prophecy was fulfilled when he met a grandson of slaves,
That's right.
one who had been among the masses of black people who left the South between 1915 and 1970, the largest intercontinental migration
Yes, ma'am.
in the history of humanity was the 6 million black people that left the South and went north. And among them was the Poole family.
Right.
And one of the sons of William Poole, Elijah,
That's right.
met with Master Ava Muhammad, and after 3.5 years, came out of death into life and rose to become the most powerful man ever to walk the planet Earth in the annals of history, having been made into a God, a man of force and power, and all bear witness to that actual fact. I bear witness that though I never saw or heard Master Ava Muhammad in person,
Come on now.
I never saw or heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in person, but as a young lawyer, having been diagnosed with cancer
Come on now. Come on.
way back in time, in 1981,
Come on now.
when all was lost, making a high income,
Come on, Sister Ava.
but having lost my father to cancer,
Come on now.
and my mother and I both ill with it,
Yes, ma'am.
on chemotherapy,
Go ahead.
thinking all is lost.
Oh,
I saw a poster
come on.
in a subway station
Come on now.
in New York City where I live that said, "Truth crushed to the earth must rise again."
Yes, ma'am.
Louis Farrakhan
Come on
speaks
now.
at the 369th Armory. I eventually went out and heard Minister Farrakhan. My life was saved and my life was changed. And I promise you that if you follow the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is guided by the self-guided, you will know life, and your life will change, and you will fulfill your divine purpose, which is the source of all happiness. I greet you in the words of peace of our Beloved, I am so happy to be back in the South, back in Atlanta, Georgia. Happy to have you. And your reception of me is overwhelming. I want to thank the student regional representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Student Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, the laborers, the believers, the FOI and Vanguard, who have so graciously and effectively secured me and my family. We have been provided with, oh, I love you back. You have provided us with accommodations that are so magnificent. When I went into the room, I said, is the minute, not the room, the suite. I looked around, I said, is Minister Farrakhan coming? That Southern hospitality is unequaled. I thank you over and over again on behalf of Brother Darius and Sister Sherelle. Thank you so much. We had a wonderful weekend with the Capital Giving Campaign on Friday, the town hall meeting on separation yesterday, and today I just want to speak briefly with you this morning on the subject, a decent place to live. And naturally that is a collapsed excerpt from the call by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the year 2015, the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, which we call 10-10-15, because it took place October 10th, 2015. He called for 10,000 fearless to make our own communities a safe and decent place to live. As we move toward our exodus, and black people will make an exodus. This is going to happen. It is happening. Each of us as an individual only has one task, and that is to decide which side of this do you plan to be on. All praise to the Lord. I was watching a little bit of the news this morning. I was more interested in the top 100 players in the NFL, but because my husband and I get upset over, we don't like how these black quarterbacks get handled.
That's right.
But they're getting mishandled less because Minister Farrakhan's relentless teaching and representation of power of a black man has produced a generation of young black people who know their value. They are demanding more. And that's leading to the ultimate demand, which is for a separate state or territory alone. And we will get it.
Come on now.
Our youth are not tolerating being black. They are basking in the glory of being black. Yes, their hair is standing up in the air, and some of them look like it's a bird's nest. Braids and dreads corners of the spectrum. They're making a statement. And they're rising up from the dead. How do you think dead people look when they first get up? They look wild. But give me a wild black man or woman who knows who he is or who she is over some Uncle Tom traitor, Negro, sellout, October, 65, selling. I can't do nothing with you. You can civilize a savage, but you can't do anything with a coon. A decent place to live is what we want for our young people. And our young people were born to go into power. They weren't born for you and I to say, go get a job with the enemy. They were not born to be sent to receive a crippling education from the enemy. A decent place to live. What is decent? To be decent, beloved, is to be marked by moral integrity, kindness, goodwill, and hard work, conforming to standards of propriety, good taste, modestly clothed, free from immodesty and obscenity, socially acceptable, dressed and wearing clothes. The adjective decent means sufficient and acceptable. So we want a decent place to live, not just nice edifices, but we want our women and girls to not only be modest, but to not be confronted with immodesty and indecency. We want to walk out of our homes in the morning and we want to see green grass. We don't want broken glass on the sidewalk. We don't want chalk outlines of a dead body where somebody was shot to death the night before. We don't want to see liquor stores. We don't want people blowing cigarette smoke and loud weed in our face. We don't want people hissing at us like a snake. Come here, girl. We don't want any of that. We are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through his servant, his national representative.
Come on.
Go ahead.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where there are no decent women,
Listen up. Come on. Listen up.
there are no decent men. Now, I'll be honest with you. I misunderstood that statement for decades. Like, I misunderstand a whole lot. Because these teachings will really show you how much you don't know. But huge. But when I read that and saw that and loved that, I thought the woman was the cause. See, where there are no decent women, there are no decent men. So in other words, indecent women running around half-dressed, cursing, selling themselves, etc., that's the cause. But then I heard Minister Farrakhan a few years ago break that statement down. And he said that the indecent men are the cause, and indecent women are the effect. This, of course, hit me like a ton of bricks. And as I thought about it, I said, that makes so much sense. Because God is a man. The man is the authority. It was Allah, a man, who sought a different being from himself after he completed his creation in the triple darkness of space. Not a lesser being, a different being. Because he wanted to reproduce himself. And you cannot reproduce yourself with something less than yourself. Otherwise, it's not a reproduction. So we are taught Allah is not a she, Allah is not an it. That was a black man that came out of that darkness of space, and he created a second self called she, the woman. She's not from a rib of a man. She's from the mind of the self-created God. And that remains true. That hasn't changed in more than 82 trillion years. And so if there are indecent women, because she came into existence in her genetic makeup to please the man.
Listen.
He did not create a different self not to please himself, not to comfort himself, not to console himself, not to be a helpmeet to him.
Go ahead.
She was with him when he created the sun. So it is in our genetic makeup to seek to please the original man.
Right.
This means that when you see indecent women,
What's happening?
it is because their perception is that this is what pleases the man. And when the original man declares that is indecent, that is unacceptable, put some clothes on. Put your clothes on. Now, this is the cause of great consternation in the black community. Because our women are now outdoors in underwear. They are imitating the white woman. Master Prophet Muhammad, I really didn't mean to. Talk about separation like this. Master Prophet Muhammad called the black man a savage in the condition we were in when he first appeared. And he called the white man a beast. You cannot reason with the beast. Zebras do not teach their babies to go and try to reason with the lion. They teach their babies, you are numero uno on the lion's you. Stay away from the lion pride. They don't send the zebras to school with the lions. Because the lions will eat them for lunch. Now, the white woman is a female beast. Every white man living that was born from a white woman, and he's shaped and molded by the mind of the white female. She is a powerful force in perpetuating racism. And we underestimate the power of the white female and her contempt for the black woman. Her envy of the black woman. The white man lusts after the black woman, just like the white woman lusts after the black man. We are taught they are envious of our physical beauty, our athletic prowess, and our intellectual superiority over them. And above all, they are angry at God because they don't have a soul as we do. We are forever, they are never. They are done. Their time ended in 1914. That's another day and topic. The only reason white people exist is because you and I keep willing them to exist. We brought them into existence in the first place. Not Allah, us, in our rebellion against him. And so the reason black women are walking around the way they are is because they are emulating the white female, because their perception is that the black man wants a white woman. Are they right? The Caucasian, as he goes down, is desperately trying to market this myth, sister, that the black man wants a white woman. The white woman is pushed into the black man's face, naked and wild, every single day. And when he is able to escape and break through the ceiling that blocks the black man's legitimate path to economic self-sufficiency, when he gets some income, they surround him with white women. So that the distribution of wealth will remain among white people. A white woman, a babysitter, got all Tiger Woods money. Brothers and sisters, we have a lot. You know, we talk a lot about how poor we are. But we have a lot of wealthy black people in America. There are black people in America with serious income. Income is not wealth, but income can be made into wealth if we know what we're doing and if we pool resources, which the white man spends every waking hour trying to prevent. But it is time now for us to pull ourselves together. We have to get a grip, beloved, on reality. And it's going to take someone from among us, a small group, doesn't take a lot, to demonstrate to our people that they have nothing to fear from white people. Black people love Minister Farrakhan. The overwhelming majority. They want to be with Minister Farrakhan. But just as the children of Israel feared Pharaoh, they wanted to respond to Moses and Aaron. They wanted to come out from under Pharaoh's oppressive rule. But they did not believe that there was anyone with a power greater than Pharaoh. And so what Allah is doing right now and has done since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has put Minister Farrakhan in his seat, as we talked about yesterday at the town hall, Allah is showing you and I, beloved, that what the minister said last Sunday is absolutely true. He has backup. No man could stand up and say the things he says and do the things he does without backup. Do we realize Minister Farrakhan has sat with the power groups both in Shia and Sunni branches of Islam? Do we realize that after DJ Trump put Iran under sanction, the minister went to Iran and taught the students and met with their scholars and religious leaders? That's the Shia branch of Islam, because just like in Christianity, after Prophet Muhammad, they broke off into a split. But Minister Farrakhan went to talk to Iran because the Iranian people, as he said Sunday, are looking for and ready to die for the Mahdi. He went to tell them who the Mahdi is. Then last month he went to Mecca during Ramadan, and with a chosen delegation performed Umrah and was a guest of the king of Saudi Arabia. This is a black man from Africa. We can hardly go from our house to a store without getting shot.
Come on, man.
Here in America, he went around the world. Then after he left Mecca in Saudi Arabia, he came back to Detroit, the new Mecca, which you'll learn, and spoke to in Cobra on the subject of reparations. And this weekend he was in St. Louis honoring one of the great helpers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, Abdul Akbar Muhammad, 86 years old, and he never stops moving. Then, of course, last Sunday, he delivered a live message from Mount Mariana. This is one person. What do you and I have to fear?
Come on.
When the minister spoke to DJ Trump from the Watergate Hotel and told him we'll take 8 states, a man who has no self-control, a man who lives on Twitter, a man who engages in fights with people who haven't even said anything to him, argues with housewives and actors and athletes and people walking down the street. When Minister Farrakhan called him out, he didn't breathe a word. He didn't breathe a word. the mic. Not because I'm qualified, I just got the mic. But in my humble opinion, it is because, as the minister said, this is the one. This president is an anomaly. But remember what he revealed to us last week so eloquently, that even though the Bible does not use the term president, the Bible speaks of kings and rulers coming down. Donald Trump, though he has the title president, is in actuality a king, a czar. Well, why do you say that, Sister Ava? Because he gives no weight to the legislature. He gives no weight to the judicial branch of the government. Thank you. I do what I want to do. That is the mindset of a tyrant, of a ruler. He is, beloved, the Pharaoh of your scripture. He is, but at the same time, he is suited to negotiate for the separate state or territory. He has a book called The Art of the Deal. Now, as we talked about yesterday, when we talk about separation, and that's what I want to briefly address today, I don't want you to be nervous about separation because it seems scary to a lot of our people. You know, all day long, the white people did this, and they call them they. They turned off my lights. They sent me this notice. They gave me a ticket. They won't let me get no aid. They took away this, and they took away that, and they. And complain, and they locked up my son, and they locked up my husband, and they locked up my father, and they locked up my sister, and they won't let my cousin out.
That's right. Give them too much.
They turned off my phone. And Minister Farrakhan says, let's consider separation. Hyperventilation. Leave white people. Oh, what on earth could make that happen? It is that we have been under them so long. They have fooled us into thinking that we can't live without them when it is they who can't live without us. It's unbelievable. We built this country not only with the hard labor that we perform, but we laid cities out.
That's right.
We brought culture to this nation. We are the reason they use a fork and knife.
That's right. That's right.
They tell you in their own history they came up out of the cave.
The cavies,
barking at the moon.
That's right.
Until we sent Musa, and we know as Moses, to civilize them. They're the ones that called their time in Europe after we kicked them out of Mecca, is another story. After one of our doctors made them in a lab. That's why they're so fixated on cloning in the lab. They get cloned. But they themselves will tell you, you read in history, they called the period of time before Islam was brought to them, they call it what? The Dark Ages.
Bring it up. Anything goes.
We invented almost everything in this country that makes life livable.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Have you heard the phrase, necessity is the mother of invention?
Yes, sir.
People invent things because it's needed. Now, let me ask you this. If you're a funky, nasty, white owner of a plantation,
Funky.
and you and your funky wife are laying in the bed and it's 100 degrees outside, and you're cool because all night 4 and 5-year-old black children are waving palms over you. Yes, that's what happened. Then what incentive do you have to change anything?
Right. Need no air conditioning. That's right.
But the slave, whose arms are about to fall off from making a breeze, said, I need to develop something. So we are the ones that invented things. We invented the cotton gin. Who had the incentive?
That's right.
Go ahead.
Who had the incentive? Yeah, Thomas Edison gets the credit for electricity. Who do you think was there with Thomas Edison? The brains behind our Who do you think developed air conditioning?
Black man. Black
So
man.
when Donald Trump tells black people and original people, you need to go back where you came from, we say you first.
Yeah.
You go first. You go back to the caves of Europe.
That's right.
Because this nation was occupied. When you showed up. Now, would you still want to use air conditioning, DJ, if you knew that a black man developed it? Okay, we'll leave, but we're going to take air conditioning with us. We're going to take the traffic lights with us. We're going to take pens and computers. We
Yeah.
already just found out recently you wouldn't have made it into space if it wasn't for the black woman.
That's right. That's right. But never made it. Hidden.
We invented the automobile. A black man in the Carolinas. So we'll take our cars with us too.
Go ahead.
You have nothing to be afraid of. You can, as he said, you can govern cities, states, territories, run corporations. There's nothing that we can't do.
Sufficient.
So today, very briefly on separation, and I said yesterday when this question came up, I would answer today. And I saw him, Brother Wahid. Right here. There he is. I want to acknowledge the presence of the first man to serve as the National Secretary under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam.
Go ahead, Brother Wahid. Go ahead, Brother Wahid. Allahu Akbar.
And you know, when you are serious and sincere about something, Allah feeds you what you need to develop in that field of endeavor and in your desire to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And of course, you know, after the meeting yesterday, Brother Wahid handed me a folder. And I had said yesterday my intent was to briefly this morning, I'm not going to keep you, I want to talk about this issue of a separate state and how that comes about, and not to have you nervous or thinking that's something weird or strange.
Right.
That can't be easily accommodated. And that the United States of America is actually politically constructed for us to have several states of our own.
That's right.
But lo and behold, Brother Wyatt handed me some research that he's done because he's been on separation for years. And I think that I want to read a lift from what he gave me last night when I looked at this sheet of paper. Because he quotes, and I love to quote white people when I'm talking to some black people. Because some of us, and it's okay, we've been here 450 years. It's hard.
Leprosy.
It's hard to break. All of us got a little bit of it in
Yeah.
us. You know, the minister said, if you stop thinking about white people, they will cease to exist. That's right. And they exist because we're all, what are white people going to say? Oh my God. So I want to read what he gave me in the U.S. Code. U.S. Code. Title 28. Section 3002. And I'm a lawyer, so I love this stuff. He gave me the definition of United States. United States, now this is their law, beloved. The term United States means a federal corporation. And then he writes, most people in the United States don't realize that the United States as a constitutional republic no longer exists. They don't know that this is a corporatocracy ruled by corporate powers and special business interest groups. See, this is not, beloved, a constitutional republic where we are truly represented in the government. And we're not represented anyway, but even white people are not really represented in the government.
That's right.
The corporatocracy is an economic and political system totally controlled by corporations and corporate interests. And you heard the minister say, if you weren't around then, back in the 90s, you can pull all these up on NOI.org. But he said that the U.S. government had been hijacked.
That's right.
By multinational corporations.
That's right.
See, there's a reason, beloved, that it can be a known fact that tobacco is more, nicotine in tobacco is more addictive than heroin. So how is it being sold? How are cigarettes being sold in America? And when do people start smoking cigarettes? I never heard of anybody 30 years old wake up and say, I'm going to start smoking. People start smoking when they're children. 12, now 8. When they're vulnerable. When it's made to look cool.
Yeah, cool.
You see? Why is this permitted? Because this is not a government by the people, for the people, of the people. It's run by multinational corporations. How does Boeing make an airplane that they know and the heads of the Federal Aviation Agency know is defective?
That's right.
And you let 2 planes come down out of the sky and kill 300 people. And even then you're saying, well, we still want to sell the plane. These people need to be marched out in the public square and hung.
Pick the bucket. Pick that bucket. Pick that bucket.
How does this happen? Multinational corporations. You see? The Holy Quran reads, corruption has appeared on the land and in the sea, on account of what men's hands have wrought. You know, corruption is not the crime itself. Corruption is when you're complicit in the crime by seeing it go on and allowing it because you don't want to lose your individual benefit from it.
Tacit. It's consent.
This is not a democracy. The minister has taught this, I've spoken on this. This is not a democracy. This is a plutocracy or an oligarchy, which is a society ruled by a handful of exceedingly wealthy people.
Handful.
But how do you keep everybody willing to be subjected to that? Because there's a false picture painted that one day you might be one of them.
Right.
That's why they have a lottery.
Wag the dog. That's right, window dressing.
All of these poor white, low information people
Poor.
that Trump loves to get in front of.
Yeah.
Make America white again. Make America
Nostalgia.
USA.
Send her
And
back.
you can see when he's talking to them, he's almost making mockery
That's right.
of them.
White trash, man.
Somebody says it's white trash. They made up that phrase. We didn't. We just used the trailer park, uninformed, low information. Send her back.
That's right.
Send her back. They love him because the only hope that they have in life is that, or the only thing that gives them a sense of well-being. Never mind, I have nothing. I know nothing. I'm doing nothing. But I'm better than a nigger.
That's right. Entitlement. Come on now. Go ahead, Doc.
That is the essence of their being.
We're buffers.
But what we overlook, beloved, is that we keep saying Trump's base. That's one end of his base. The other end of the spectrum are the billionaire, blood-sucking, wealthy Jews who also do nothing, who contribute nothing to the economy. Contribute nothing. They invented the third party. You and I can't buy and sell a house without a middleman. Brother plays for the NFL. Gotta be a middleman.
Bloodsuckers.
They're the agents, the lawyers.
Bloodsuckers.
The bloodsucker.
That's right.
But what dirt are you digging up? What are you manufacturing? What are you producing? What service are you providing?
Nothing.
I just take a percent.
That's right. My nigga. Man.
So, in this, Brother White says this at the bottom of this page, a government controlled by corporate business interests is all the more reason why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his servant, Minister Farrakhan, and members of the Nation of Islam proclaim the following. And this you will find, beloved, on the back of every issue of the Final Call newspaper, the Muslim program, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad developed in response to numerous questions from black and white people in '65. When they kept asking him, what do the Muslims want? What y'all want? So he gave them the Muslim program. We'll tell you what we want, and we'll also tell you what we believe.
That's right.
Right? And so this is what we want.
Conspicuous.
We want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves, to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of their own, either on this continent or elsewhere. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. Now here's reparations. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs. Since we cannot get along with them in peace and equality, after giving them 400 years of our sweat and blood and receiving in return some of the worst treatment human beings have ever experienced, we believe our contribution to this land and the suffering forced upon us by white America justifies our demand for complete separation in a state or territory of our own. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I had actually asked him last week to please, in his message, frame the issue of reparations. Now, why did I ask him to frame it? Because reparations is a hot topic now among in the political realm that the presidential candidates have been confronted with, though it has not been addressed in the debates thus far.
Right.
But reparations is being tossed around. First of all, as though any talking head can speak on it. Okay?
Talking head.
And you have people, you have the extremes of a Mitch McConnell.
Mitch.
From Kentucky.
Good old Mitch.
You know that old white man whose eyes look like a shark? You ever looked at his eyes?
Yeah, good old Mitch.
Dead. There's nothing there. That's how a shark is. Because a shark is a killing machine.
That's right.
He swims and eats. And that's Mitch McConnell, a shark. And he said, well, reparations, well, I don't think we should do it because this is something that happened 150 years ago.
Devil.
And we weren't even alive.
Listen to that devil.
First of all, 6-ounce brain white men. Okay. Work with us here. Try to think. Slavery is not something that happened. It wasn't a car accident.
A lot of residual.
It wasn't a single event.
That's right.
Or an incident.
Come on now.
We're talking 4 centuries that are continuing to
absolutely. Acculturated. Come on now.
the residual effects of it.
That's right.
And the branches that grew out of it, such as Jim Crow.
That's right.
And discrimination. Now, secondly, you weren't here, but your granddaddy was here.
That's right. You're privileged.
Kentucky.
You're privileged, Mitch.
In the law, there is a doctrine called unjust enrichment. The doctrine of unjust enrichment says you may not have been the one that stole the property or committed the fraud, but you benefited directly from
Go ahead. Oh, privileged Mitch.
But Minister Farrakhan, last Sunday, and I hope you are listening and parsing that message, he framed reparations. He said, reparations is land. And you have people running around silly clown Negroes.
Yeah.
I heard one say, well, every black person ought to get a check for $145,000. What am I going to do with $145,000? I'm not going to say, I'm not going to smear $145,000. But what I'm saying, not for reparations.
Right.
You have to be kidding me. Reparations is not money, it's land.
Right.
And someone has calculated that the dollar amount owed to black people is $21 trillion.
Come on.
Well, clearly, they don't have it.
Right. In debt. They got it in debt.
They got in debt. They owe about that amount. They're minus.
that's
in
about
debt,
on
that
it.
amount. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to grant us some of these states.
That's right.
And we got to have among those eight, starting out with some southern states.
That's right. We ain't backing down.
Georgia.
Come on. Georgia.
Alabama.
Got Georgia on my mind. Got Georgia on my mind. Got Georgia on my mind.
Georgia on my mind.
That's right.
Birthplace of the most honorable.
Go ahead. Sing it, Doc. Sing it.
All these Gulf states, outlets to the sea, fertile land, because we have to feed ourselves. There's some other states too that we're not going to get into today. But we got to have a couple of these Midwest bread basket type.
That's right. That's right.
But we'll start with Mississippi, Alabama, or Georgia.
That's right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote about Alabama. That's right. We have to have Alabama. That's where my people are from. Alabama.
Tuskegee.
Tuskegee. Tuskegee. The seminal fluid.
That's what he said.
Of the
That's what he said.
of God.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Oh, we have to have
That's
Tuskegee.
what God said.
There's a Blue Sea restaurant
Mobile,
there too.
where the fish came in.
Right. And
And an outlet. to
Come on,
the
Doc.
sea.
Come on, Doc. Make the case.
All right? But not only that, we are, oh, and the minister said last week, when you leave, told white people, don't take nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we search people coming in, we got to start searching them going out.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
If you leave the border of Mississippi, we're going to search you.
Leave that bridge. That's right.
That's justice. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad chided the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's told us many times about how he came as a young minister, excited and happy that he had spoke to this big audience and told these white people, we're so anxious to separate, I'm ready to cut down trees and plow dirt and clear shrubs and bushes. And he said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked at him and said, brother, we're not cutting down nothing. We did that.
That's right.
He said, you see all these skyscrapers?
Leave them right there.
Stuff they're putting up, that's for us.
That's right. Leave that Starbucks.
So those of you who think, oh, there's not going to be a separation because gentrification is in full effect. They, as we love to call them, they are taking over the black community. They're moving us out. All of that is for us. All we have to do is obey God's will. Now, I'm going to close on this point. As we leave here today, I would like us to think about something else. And a lot of our nationalist brothers and sisters, and let me just repeat and reiterate, I read to you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He didn't say Muslims. He said descendants of slaves.
That's all of us.
This is not a religious movement.
That's right.
As our brother from the Moorish Science Temple so eloquently pointed out yesterday, Islam is not a religion, it's a way of life. But I say to you, go in the book of Numbers in your Bible. That's where we are right now. Okay? We're ready to go into the promised land. When you read the Bible, you'll see the land that God chose for the children of Israel was occupied.
Go ahead.
That's you're a Christian. Take that Bible out.
Yeah, wrap your mind around it.
Wrap your mind around it.
That's right.
The promised land was not just some land with milk and honey with nobody there saying, come on in. There were a lot of people, and it said they were giants.
Yeah, they had city halls.
God, you gave us a land occupied by giants. It said they had cities.
Yeah.
What does that sound like?
Yeah.
Sound like Atlanta?
Yeah.
Sound like New York?
Yeah.
Sound like Birmingham?
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yeah.
Detroit?
Call the roll, Doc, call the roll.
Sound like it to me.
Yeah.
So the fact that people live there, as the minister told them at the press conference from the Watergate, you all know how to move people. That's right. You moved the Palestinians. You moved the Native Americans from the Carolinas out to Oklahoma. And Donald Trump is the type of person, you know, he has had white people fall in love with him so much. He'll go and tell them. You know, I met with Farrakhan. He's an amazing guy. And I got a deal for you guys. You're gonna love it. It's amazing.
Go ahead.
They're gonna
Just
take
like that.
Mississippi and Ireland. Well, what? Don't even worry about it. You've been to Idaho? It's gorgeous. There's only a few of us out there.
Right.
We're going to build some log cabins, and it's going to be just like the wall. It's going to be beautiful.
Just like the wall.
But I sat with Farrakhan, and we're going to leave Mississippi. We're going to Montana. We're going to Wyoming.
Right.
All of this is very real, beloved.
Like that.
This is very real. There's nothing spooky about this, but I want to close on asking us to think about returning to a very important part of our culture that has been lost. And that is respect for our elders and respect for our ancestors. You know, when I hear some of these silly Negroes talking about reparations, which they have no business addressing the subject, you don't hear me up here talking about quantum physics, because I know nothing about it. So be quiet.
That's right.
Let somebody that knows that subject come up and speak on it. We had a sister at one of our town hall meetings, Dr. Linda Mango, who's a doctor in African American studies at Virginia State, and she said, I am an expert in the black experience, and I am telling you that the only solution to our problem is that offered by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's not a Muslim thing. People love to talk about the founding fathers and what Jefferson said, Jefferson, the sexual predator, child rapist. All the founding fathers, I think, except 3, had slaves. Okay? But we should respect our ancestors, and instead of us running around, even some people say, I don't want no reparations. I got a job. Well, good for you, Negro. Go Sam.
I'm a Negro.
Because the honor we love, that's why we're taking a vote.
Come on now.
No.
That's right. Stay.
You can abstain and offer nothing. And just stay. Just run around following them to their end. He said here in the Muslim program, we want every black man and woman to have the freedom to accept or reject being separated from the slave master's children and establish a land of freedom. So this is no force or trying to drag you kicking and screaming from Scarlett O'Hara. But the majority of our people at the end of slavery wanted to get as far away from white people as they could. That's what Juneteenth is about. Juneteenth when the Union troops finally were able to come ashore at Galveston, and our parents found out for the first time that Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which was really a war document. That's a whole nother, don't be making him a Jesus. But anyway, it emancipated us. The history records that the slaves dropped what they were doing and left the plantations immediately. They didn't even know where they were going or how to get there.
Out of here.
And we're sitting up here with our flat screen TVs.
I'm staying.
Our cars and air conditioning. I don't know if I want to go or not.
Highfalutin Negro.
We have an obligation to them, and I'm going to share this narrative that another brother did some research on. And I'm going to give you his name. I'll have to come back out because I left the notebook at home. But the believers always handed me information, to facilitate this discussion. And this is about 40 acres and a mule. Because I hear 40 acres and a mule, that's another thing tossed around.
Yeah, tossed around.
Jokes. I want to give about 40 acres. Yeah. No, this is not a joke.
That's right.
Right.
It's life. This is life.
This is life. That's right. General Sherman. Now we're in Atlanta, which was burned to the ground by the Union Army. But General Sherman's march to the sea, which most of us are aware of, but we're not aware necessarily that it brought a massive regiment of the Union Army to the Georgia coast in December of 1864. Following the Union Army were 15,000 black people. They were refugees from the plantations. They were suffering from starvation, exhaustion, illness, disease, and abuse. On December the 19th, 1864, these 15,000 black people were sent to Hilton Head Island.
That's right.
In South Carolina, which was a refugee camp. On January the 11th, 1865, Edwin Stanton, the Secretary of War, and other officials met with Sherman about this refugee crisis. They decided, now listen to this, beloved. They decided to consult leaders from the local black community. The question they asked was, what do you want for your people?
Come on now.
On January 12th, the next day, Sherman met with 20 black people from Savannah, Georgia. Black people in Savannah. Now this is 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Black people in Savannah had already developed a community. Most of them couldn't read, but they had developed a community and they were politically engaged.
That's right. That's right.
They selected a spokesperson.
Come on now, one voice.
His name was Garrison Frazier. He was the pastor of the Third African Baptist Church, not African American, African Baptist Church. He had bought his freedom for himself and his wife 10 years earlier. Mr. Frazier, Reverend Frazier, said to General Sherman these words: the way we can best take care of ourselves is to have our own land and turn it and till it by our own labor. That is the desire of those who actually suffered in slavery. Now, all of the black people present said they wanted land grants for autonomous black communities. They said they wanted their own community. And guess what they said? Racial hatred would prevent us from economic advancement in any areas mixed with whites.
Any.
See, this is when we were ourselves.
Right.
We may have been illiterate. We may have been beaten down, our IQ lowered by a lifetime of back-bending work and no conversation or vocabulary. And yet,
Separate.
our soul and our genetic makeup made us have a preference for the company of our own.
We yearn for it. Go ahead, Doc.
So 4 days later, General Sherman issued Field Order 15. Field Order 15 instructed officers to settle the refugees on the sea islands and inland. 400,000 acres were divided into 40-acre plots. The Union Army had confiscated a number of mules from southern plantations and gave some of them to the refugees. That's where 40 acres and a mule comes from.
That's right.
It's not that we were waiting on it. It was distributed and they took it back.
That's right.
A few years later.
That's right.
Now listen at this about Field Order 15. And you can find this, you can Google this. This was an article in the New York Daily Tribune, February 13th of 1865, entitled Interview. They have a transcript of the conversation between colored ministers and church officers at Savannah with the Secretary of War, Major General Sherman. This Order 15 specifically prohibited white people from settling in that area. So this ain't the first time at the rodeo.
That's right. Come on now.
By June 16, 1865, approximately 40,000 freed black people were settled on 435,000 acres. This Sea Island project reflects the policy of 40 acres and a mule as the basis for post-slavery economics. But while the Army leadership was going through the South setting up a land ownership economy for black people, back in D.C. and among the leadership, they were in cahoots with other southern states creating a labor wage economy.
Right.
Which we live under to this day.
That's right. Same news.
Where we go and work for an hour for $12.
It's a news. It's a news.
And it costs us $12 just to get there.
That's right.
Think about that.
The special field orders issued by Sherman were not upheld by the federal government
That's right. Great
in the
compromise.
years following the war.
Great compromise.
Almost all the Great Compromise of 1877, almost all land allocated during the war was eventually returned to white people.
Think about that.
Beginning, as I just said, beginning in Louisiana, that's where they were plotting this. The group that was under Lincoln's approval, because there was disagreement in the federal government, had already begun developing a wage labor system that became federal and state policy, and that's how it is to this day. This system dominates our lives today. There is no door open to us becoming landowners. We're going to have to get up and follow God's servant and take what belongs to us. Reparations is not a standalone issue. We will never obtain reparations until we become a people with an identifiable government.
Yes, ma'am.
The United States, beloved, is a political union of 50 independent states already.
That's right.
Every one of the 50 states has its own flag, its own constitution,
That's right.
its own system of education, its own laws, its own rules and issuance of licenses, registration, birth certificates.
That's right. Ordinances, man.
And so the idea of us having a separate state is not that we are talking about something that is not already in existence. What we are simply saying, beloved, is we want to be several states that we control.
Right.
So we send 2 senators to the U.S. Congress. We send a number of congressional representatives that can speak for us. The U.S. Congress is not really a separate entity. It is a pooling of resources of 50 independent states.
That's right.
So we have a flag. We have a constitution.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We are ready to go.
Unto us.
All we need is the desire to feed the will and the desire for our children to grow up in communities that are safe and decent for them to live. May Allah bless us all. Thank you. Love you. Light us up. I love you.